We're saving the best for last. Kraven struggles, makes $11 million at the box office. This comes on the heels of an announcement that they will be ending, meaning Sony will be ending their universe of Marvel characters. This is the third movie we've gotten this year from the Sony Marvel Universe after Madam Web, after Venom The Last Dance. Here comes Kraven. They made this announcement prior to this movie opening this weekend. Ricky, is that one of the dumbest decisions of all time, or is it something where you're just facing the truth?
I think it's facing the truth. I think
Because
I think it's maybe this would have been leaked no matter what. They're just getting out ahead of it, and I really don't think they purposely did this before the movie. They still want to make money on this movie, even though they're basically telling us, yes, this is basically no point to go see this movie, and we didn't, even though we tried. We didn't, right? So yeah, it's a terrible look, but they definitely didn't purposely put that out there to kind of like ruin their chances at a good box office weekend.
they probably ran the numbers. They knew it was going to be low, and they think this announcement really wouldn't change the numbers. That is crazy. That tells me no one cares about this universe at all, aside from Venom. No one, no other characters people have attachments to. Sony Marvel is insisting that they made money off of Morbius, but probably it made money off of like everyone making fun of the movie.
It's
And
Morbin
that is
time, baby.
and that is the encapsulation of the Sony Marvel universe. And it becomes where, what do we do next? Is there going to be a future, like even Aaron Taylor Johnson was talking about on the press on the red carpet? He's like, hey, yeah, we want to see what we can do with this character, what JC Chandor has in store. Bro, that's not happening. It will never be happening. It becomes, what does Sony do next? Ricky, I want to throw something out there. Do you think there's a possibility Sony just sells the rights of Spider-Man back to Marvel?
No, no, they've had that opportunity so often, right? And they're only making these movies because they have to. It's not like they're only doing this to keep the rights to Spider-Man, right? Because they have to do a movie every 5 years, I think 5 years, 9 months, I think is the deal. Something Spider-Man related. And it was also reported this week that Spider-Man can appear in their movies, which was
Yep.
a shocking development. Like I did not see that in that agreement, and no one's known that until this week. So I think now they're canceling this. Maybe something expired in the clause where Spider-Man maybe couldn't been for like the past 10 years or so, but now he can maybe. I don't know, but I think now it's going to be another step forward of getting Spider-Man back, like having a true universe. Having a true like Spider-Man, a mere a clearer picture for this iconic superhero.
It's interesting that they say he could have been appearing in these movies the entire time, but I think it might have been they were nervous of overexposure potentially of Spider-Man showing up basically every year in a movie. That's a lot of Spider-Man, and people will grow sick of Tom Holland really quick. And also, will those movies sour people from going to see the MCU movies? There's a potential that could happen as well. And it seemed like they knew that their quality wasn't meeting what Tom Holland was doing with the MCU in partnership with Sony. Let's not intermingle the two. They took an experiment and it went horribly wrong. This universe turned into Frankenstein when they wanted what the MCU had, you know? And now it becomes, what is the model they go for? If they don't sell the rights back to Marvel, what are the next steps? Ricky, do you think there is a path for the future of Sony and how they handle Spider-Man?
I think they first and foremost across the Spider-Verse, beyond the Spider-Verse, they got to complete that trilogy. And then I think Sony will try to do Miles Morales.
As a centerpiece.
Yeah, I think that's the play. With
And
Tom
then
Holland confirming being Spider-Man for another 3 movies at the minimum, I think the Miles Morales play is what Sony's going to do.
what you could do is you have Miles Morales start off in the Sony universe, and then with the multiverse and all these different possibilities, he could show up in future Marvel projects. I think that's a good idea. And so having Miles Morales beginning his Spider-Man career inside a Sony universe, I think is crucial, because the first time we see Tom Holland He is someone that deal was brokered so he could be in Captain America Civil War. So he is only being in the MCU. The only time we're seeing him, he's associated with the MCU. You could have your Spider-Man be connected to your universe and then noticing you're sharing him with Marvel rather than feeling like Tom Holland belongs to the MCU and not Sony. So I think having that clear distinction from the outset. And then I think Miles Morales is a good idea because they were talking about Sony. Maybe they have their own Spider-Man. They weren't distinguishing like which Spider-Man. It could easily be like another Peter Parker. And I think it's smart if they do Miles Morales. If they do two Peter Parkers, you see what's happening with DC and their troubles right now, where it's like Pattinson, like people are going to be potentially confused on what's going on with his universe and the Reeveverse versus what James Gunn is looking for with the Brave and the Bold. Two at one time playing the same, like both playing Bruce Wayne could get a little bit sticky. But if you have Miles Morales and Peter Parker, both Spider-Man, but both different in very unique ways. So I think it's smart if they do Miles Morales centerpiece.
Yeah, they're different. And like even with the Batman comparison, like the Batman's a young Batman on his own, and the Batman DCU is gonna have freaking Robin and be an older Batman.
Like a Bat
So
family.
yeah, exactly. So it's gonna be kind of the opposite Batman of Pattinson. So it's still trying to be different, right? So I think that will still work for DC, and it would work here as well for Sony.
What they could also do, and they flip the script a little bit, they've been trying to follow patterns. We see it with like DCEU when they, after the Dark Knight trilogy ends, they immediately start trying to kickstart their universe. They do it too fast. They're trying to follow similar to what Marvel's done with Kevin Feige. Sony's like doing that. They're trying to have some connectivity. They're trying to build a universe. James Gunn is saying, like, let's just tell some great stories. It doesn't have to have the same tone. We can mix it up a little bit. We'll have Elseworlds. I think what if you want to, if Miles Morales just stays with the MCU and he's brought in for like Secret Wars and things going on in the future, what you could do is just tell really kick-ass standalone stories and not have it be a connected universe where you have Spider-Man Noir, right, being shot right now with Nicolas Cage. It's going to be a show on Amazon. That is cool. Like maybe you just tell great standalone stories with these Marvel characters and just don't worry about them being connected. Don't have a freaking vulture like showing up at the end of Morbius type of moment in like one of the worst post-credit scenes. You guys are terrible at this stuff. Don't do that stuff. Don't tease anything at the end. Just make like a film that is an Elseworld project. Just like we just had the announcement for Clayface. We don't know if that's going to be Elseworld or DCU. But it's kind of interesting when there is no other connectivity. You're just sitting there for that one experience. I think you can just say none of it's connected, tell the one-off story. You'll get better actors to do it. You got directors that are going because they're not going to be tied down. You're going to have directors that can put their stamp on the film itself. And you could have much more critically praised movies that earn more money at the box office. So I think that's another option.
There's your pitch, Sony. It's right there. You just laid it out there.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's hard to break away from everything they just did and then be like, okay, here is whatever movie, like, I don't know. They like just try and mix it up. Don't try and replicate something that someone is doing so much better than you.
Yeah. And you also have to remember, like Sony, they own the Spider-Man IP, and like the Spider-Man movies, even in the MCU, that's a Sony movie. So they make the money on that, for the box office and whatnot. Like that is a Sony project. It's just that character's in the MCU from a story narrative standpoint, right? So it's still like that's why I think like Spider-Man, they'll never sell Spider-Man, just because they're gonna make so much money off this one character forever, and it's just natural. It's just how do you keep up with this contract with this MCU character where you don't want to mess up what's going on with Spider-Man in the MCU, but you still got to keep making Spider-Man movies, but it can't be with the titular or the main Spider-Man, which is Tom Holland. But I think you kind of laid out how they could do that very well and not be freaking complicated like we kind of suggested and how it's been.
I also don't think it's a bad idea. Like if Miles Morales gets taken to the MCU, there's so much popularity with Spider-Gwen. that she could be a centerpiece of a universe potentially, and then you build off of it with other Spider-Verse characters in live action. I don't hate that as well. And maybe you can have Miles like go in and out because you want to see Miles Morales with Spider-Gwen. And if you have that option, you make it happen. But they have a lot of options right now. They have to overhaul everything. This is going to be a process. But they screwed the pooch big time these last, I don't know, 7-8 years. And it's one of the worst failures, I think, in the history of comic book movie making. Like it's might be the worst failure.
It's up there.